Imagine reaching your 40s with the freedom to live life on your own terms. You are financially secure and you live life worry-free. The secret to achieving that dream comes down to the smart choices you make about your finances in your 20s as well as your 30s. Today I want to unpack from my own lived experiences 12 of the best purchases you can make with your money today in your 20s and 30s to make sure that you are preparing for or almost guaranteeing that freedom and that wealth in your 40s and beyond. My name is Ken Okorafor. I'm one half of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy, and the other half is my beautiful wife Mary. We run this platform to help you take control of your finances, grow your money, and ultimately design for yourself a balanced life of financial joy. If you love the sound of today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button there, show some support for our channel. Feel free to look around and see what other videos we've made. And if you love this video and what we're offering today, please also hit that like button because it helps to get this video promoted. Now, in case you're wondering, who is this guy in terms of his experiences? Is he qualified to be talking about this topic? You see, I began life in the UK at the age of 14 as a first generation immigrant. Today, I'm financially independent. In fact, we actually got there in our mid 30s. And having turned 40 recently, I'm actually looking back at my life and thinking to myself, what are some of the key decisions we made in terms of purchases that meant that we set ourselves up for a much better future? Of course, my life is not perfect. However, there's certain things I've learned that means that if you choose to put your money in the right places, you can really set yourself up for a much better future, no matter how bad things might look today. This video is going to be very candid. I'm just going to share from my notes, and without much time wasted, let's jump straight in. The very first purchase I will be making with my money, and bear in mind, you wouldn't be able to purchase every single thing I've said on the list today. You can choose what works for you and make the necessary decisions about your finances. But the very first thing I would purchase would be to buy the world. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean here is that it's so easy to underestimate how powerful it is that I could be here at home in the UK, and I could, from here on my smartphone or maybe on a computer, I could sit here and earn shares, earn funds, earn index funds or ETFs that have allocations across some of the best companies in the world and spread geographically across the United States, Japan, the UK, China, parts of Europe, parts of the emerging markets, parts of Africa, and so on. It's easy for me to do that today, thanks to the technology that means that we can easily invest from our tax efficient account. So the very first thing I will be doing would be to be making sure that a portion of my money is invested every month without fail. I'll give you a really practical example of this. For this week, we've been hosting 2 students in our home for work experience, and one of them is my goddaughter who's 15 years old. And her mum had asked for some work experience, and it was beautiful for her to come along to our home, and they've spent some time learning how to start businesses as young entrepreneurs potentially, as well as how to become investors. And today she made her very first investment. Imagine if you began that journey of investing at the age of 15, like she just started. For me, this will be one of the most important points to make. Start early and you will be guaranteeing a future of freedom and much more abundance. The second thing I'd put money into is to buy books. Do you know what? I think it's such a big differentiator when you meet people, whether they be friends or a partner or a potential partner. Ask them the question, did they actually read books? What was the last book they read? I've personally noticed a very strong correlation between my desire to educate myself, to read a variety of books from different genres, and the eventual outcome of where we've turned out financially and creating a level of financial security and freedom and that sort of thing. So I'll be recommending reading books and having a planner. I use a planner every single week, but I'll be recommending reading books across different genres. Of course, first I'll talk about finances. If you've not got a copy of our book, Financial Joy, you should definitely get yourself a copy. I'll link to it below and above. Go and check it out. It's a 10-week plan to help you banish debt, grow your money, and unlock financial freedom. But I want to talk about a few categories I would spend some money on when it comes to books. The first is careers. I remember when I was trying to level up my career and I wanted to become a chief financial officer, which I eventually did, became a UK finance director, then went on to become a chief financial officer. I remember spending money on books to understand what a CFO did for a job. Yeah. So for you, no matter what sort of career you are aiming for, there are books, there are resources out there to guide you. So first is careers, next is marketing, next is finance, which I've talked about, next is sales, which pairs very beautifully with marketing. Really, really powerful books out there on these categories. Next is creativity. One of the best books I've read, in this area is a book called Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. I've talked about this previously in maybe some of our much earlier videos. But books on creativity, really helped me on my journey, because as someone who is very logically focused and numbers based, I never really thought I was creative, and I needed something to just help me, with that mindset shift that I needed. So books on creativity, and there are many others, by the way. I'm not just mentioning that one specifically for any reason. You can buy any book you want. Also, I'd look at books on AI and technology, as well as books on business. There are many really great books out there. The third thing I'd spend money on, this is a really interesting one, is on either a wedding ring or on surprises. Now, what do I mean here? Let me just unpack what I mean here. So one thing I've realized that's really helped me remain really grounded and really helped in our wealth building journey, and really expedited our wealth building journey, is because I am married. Yeah. And look, this is not even like an isolated incident. And you have to marry well, by the way, which is, you don't just get married for wealth reasons or money reasons. You're getting married for the right reasons, in that you love somebody and you want to build a life with them, and you want to be joined together in a union. But getting married has some very important advantages, which you can go and research. In fact, we've made a video about singles versus couples. I'll link to it below and above. Now, I'm not saying that if you're single, you can't build wealth. Of course you can. If you're somebody who's single, please ignore this point entirely and do your single thing. That's completely fine. But I'm just saying, like, for me personally, in my experience, not only has being married, not just in a committed relationship, but actually being married, not only has that really grounded me and given me a lot of focus and pushed away a lot of distractions and just given me a sense of purpose in many ways and security in many ways, but he's expedited our wealth building journey, as well as giving us certain protections. God forbid, if anything ever happened to me, my wife will inherit, everything we've been building, and vice versa. If anything happened to her, and it will be the same way, so that we are able to look after our family, look after our children, and so on. And many other advantages tied to inheritance tax, wealth protections, and so on. So, buying a wedding ring, the point I'm making there is making a commitment, really. Not necessarily buying the ring per se. Yes, okay, obviously you can buy a ring. Don't spend too much money on the ring, by the way. People have their opinions about this, but buy something you think, really speaks to the intention that you have, which is really making a commitment to a future partner. And you may even begin to save for the ring. But my point here is really about commitment. But the second bit on surprises is about if you're somebody who's already in a relationship. One thing I've found is indirectly correlated to your future wealth is the degree to which you are able to surprise your partner and actually keep your relationship fun, keep it really interesting, and keep it together. Yeah, because the last thing you want is a divorce. Enough said. And again, nothing wrong with anybody who's gone through a divorce. It's a very difficult thing to experience, and no one is exempt from that happening. Worth mentioning. But you want to try to avoid it if you can, because it costs a lot of money and heartache and many other things. Number 4 is insurance. So here I'm speaking directly to two key areas. There are many other forms of insurance, but I want to highlight two that really matter for your youth, basically. So one is life insurance, which is really about other people. So your family members, maybe if you're somebody who has children, for example, life insurance is very important. The cheaper you buy it, the better. The younger you buy it, rather, the better and the cheaper it remains, basically. So if you know nothing about life insurance, you want to learn more about it, we've made a detailed guide. I'll link to it below and above. The second I want to talk about is health insurance. Now, there's a lot that's said in the UK, particularly about the National Health Service. And, depending on where you lived, NHS might be great or it might be completely not so great. One thing I've personally found helpful in having is having some health insurance. This is obviously meant giving up certain things to make sure we are investing in stuff like that to help our family. Now, I want to just mention one point, though, almost like a little small print when it comes to health insurance, is making sure you have adequate cover when it comes to things like outpatients cover and stuff like that. Because a lot of these health insurance policies really make it easy for you to get in, right? If you're healthy, but then when it comes to claim, they make your life a bit of a nightmare if you don't have adequate cover. So make sure you are checking. And also, to the point about being in your 20s and 30s, the younger you get these things, the less likely you are to have pre-existing conditions that mean that you might not then get certain covers when it comes to health insurance. I personally see health insurance as something that will be very important for the future, which is why I'm saying when it comes to wealth, hey, very important to make sure we are protecting for the right things. The fifth thing I will spend money on is on property. Okay? Now, this is a very topical subject. Home ownership, obviously huge. A lot of people are priced out in many ways, but I'm just mentioning the point because I think it's very important and I still think it's possible if you really plan for it. So number one is buying a house. A lot of people will say, don't buy a house. Some people will say you should rent. Some people say don't rent and buy a house instead. Look, we cover all of that debate in our book. Feel free to read it. We'll give you pros and cons of both and make some conclusions. So you can check that out later. But one thing I do personally is buy a home. Buying a house has served us really well. It's set us up for retirement. We've paid off our house. We paid it off in 7 years, which has been a life-changing thing for us, even at this age where I'm 40, right? But I know that I don't have to worry about retirement, for example. There's also the security aspect that comes with having a home and creating stability, and that stability is directly connected to your future wealth. Yeah, because a home that's unstable and has a lot of instability in it more generally, you're less likely to focus, you're less likely to conceive ideas and actually then implement those ideas if you don't have a great deal of stability. So buying a house, and I know it's a huge deal for people because a lot of people can't even get on the property ladder, can't save up deposits. I think it's a pretty big deal. Now, if you're somebody who is dreaming even bigger, another aspect to consider when it comes to home ownership is investments. Again, very topical, but if you could pool funds with people, it's a very good idea to try to do that. It's not for everybody, obviously, because there's a risk attached to it. But, this is another direction that people could focus on as a way to set themselves up for the future. Feel free to check out our, property playlists on this channel. Or if you are, again, reading our book, look at week 9 in our book where we cover 6 detailed strategies for investing in property, everything from basically basic buy-to-let, HMOs, flipping, buy, refurbish, refinance, all those things. We'll cover them in a lot of detail for people who want to learn about that stuff. But I want to caveat that by saying it's not for everybody, because not everybody has the stomach for it, because it's a risk. The sixth thing I would invest my money into is to buy back time. What do I mean here? One of the best things that I feel that we've done personally in our lives is to, keep our lifestyles very simple. I don't waste a lot of money trying to display wealth and all this rubbish. I have no time for that. For me though, what I do have time for is buying back my time. So things like getting a cleaner who comes to the house once a week so that me and my wife can actually relax a bit more, getting a virtual assistant to help us out in our business, to do various tasks so that we are not doing everything. We can work on the business, not in the business. You can even go as far as getting people to cook your meals for you. I know people who do that. We do that once in a while for events, but not on a weekly basis that some people do. But we know people in our lives who do that. They get people to cook meals for them and batch cook it. Whatever it is you want to do. You may get people to look after your children, so childcare and what have you. Whatever you want to do, the key principle here is the principle of buying back your time. Because without buying back your time, there really is no freedom. You are running the rat race, not just in your job, but you're running a rat race really in your own life. All right, moving on. The seventh thing I would spend money on or purchase is on holidays and retreats. Now, here's the thing. I was saying to someone the other day that when I look back on my life over the last decade, and I think, wow, what were some of the really standout things that I did with my life in the last decade? One of them is that Mary and I traveled. Yeah, we traveled. At the last count, we've been to 30 countries and growing, right? And it hasn't happened overnight. I want to stress that. We're not like, traveling everywhere. No, this is like small, as I say, small, We've been traveling little by little. By that, I mean every year we might go, say, to 2 places, some years a bit more, some years a bit less. And over the last, say, 10 to 15 years, we've been to 30 countries, which is, you'd say, on average of about 2 countries per year. Now, why does this matter? This is so important because when you are young and, you got that momentum, you got that energy, it's easy to waste all of that and actually go to the extreme frugality end and say, yeah, I will enjoy my life later on. Yeah. What I'm not saying here is spend all your money traveling and having nice retreats. No, I'm saying you need a balance. So in our world, we say, begin with around 5% of your net income committed to having fun, doing your travels, going on retreats, things that effectively feed your soul, improve your well-being, and all of those things. Like I feel like I've lived such a good life because I've had the privilege, I should say, of going around the world and seeing certain parts of it. Yeah, but it hasn't always been like that. Thinking back to when I came to this country at age of 14, for many years after that, we couldn't go anywhere. So even if you're at a place where, and I'm speaking directly to somebody, I know someone on this video today will hear this message, even if you're in a place where you're not privileged to have a passport and you can't travel anywhere, see this as something you have as a vision for your life. Because once upon a time, yours truly was in that position and I couldn't go anywhere. I was stuck due to residency challenges and what have you, as many immigrants who move to the UK and other parts of the world experience. Yeah. So plan for it and it will become your reality over time. Yeah. The 8th thing I will purchase or spend money on is on a business. Now, I mentioned this because a lot of people want to start businesses, they want to become entrepreneurial, but they don't really know how to start something. One thing you can do is just buy a business off the shelf. There are many businesses waiting to be sold. There are many people who started businesses, but they're just rubbish at it. And they need somebody to rescue them or even take it off them for free. I remember growing up when we moved to the UK, with many challenges you have as an immigrant to a country and restrictions with work, that sort of thing. One of the things we were allowed to do was to look into entrepreneurship, start a company or buy a business. I remember my mum buying a business off the shelf. It was a medical services company and she turned it into an agency and used it to start to provide staff to companies. And that became a lifeline for us as a family after many years. So having that experience, I realized that, wow, you can buy businesses, you can buy them off the shelf, you don't have to start a company yourself, you could just go and buy one. There are many websites, there's a company called Empire Flippers, if I remember correctly, there are many others, just basically Google like company off the shelf kind of thing. Another thing I wanted to mention when it comes to a business is I quite like the idea of having a limited company. This gives you, from a wealth building perspective, limited liability because you have that veil of incorporation, which means that your assets, your personal assets are always protected if things go south. All right. Number 9 is good quality food. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now that if there's anything you put money into, and I'm learning, I don't know everything. I'm learning by experience and, as part of a family, my wife and I, one thing we've learned is so critical to living a good life is good quality food. Even if you're eating a small quantity, but you're eating good quality, tick. Big tick. Yeah? Spend that money, buy wholesome foods. Just cut the junk out, man. That stuff ages you, that stuff kills you like from within. You don't really want to be like dying slowly because you're just like feeding yourself poison. Invest your money in what matters. Because think about it. What's the point of being young and then heading for the future, which you want to arrive at, but then you're fueling yourself with rubbish? Nah, forget that. Buy good quality food. Number 10, important, is tailored coaching or advice. Yeah? I'm going to speak about this from different perspectives. Obviously, I'm a financial coach. I help people. I'm also a business coach. I help people start businesses or help people with their finances. You can invest your money with a coach of any variety that you want. Could be a financial coach, could be a financial planner, could be a solicitor, could be basically anyone that means, and anything that means that you have the right people on your corner. Yeah, could be an architect. It could be just basically anyone that means that you have the right people around you that are aligned with the sort of goal you want to achieve for your life. Because the thing that happens with wealth is, as you start to build wealth, you start off with a very, very simple life. It's just your one income and your expenses. That's it. And then you start to acquire assets and you start to introduce passive income. You start a business or a side hustle. All these additional elements, you start to buy property. All these additional elements introduce complexity. Yeah, you start to think of tax efficiency, you start to think of residency, you start to think of, estate planning. All these various elements, mean that you need the right people around you, because otherwise you just work hard, make bad decisions, and waste a lot of time making decisions that cost you money because of mistakes. And you don't want to make mistakes because, you don't build any wealth by just constantly making mistakes. So having the right advisors around you, financial coaches, estate planners, financial planners, financial advisors, anyone that means that you are basically leveling up. Don't think as a scarcity person. Scarcity people think, oh, I'm spending money. You should be thinking, I'm actually investing money for a particular outcome for my own life for the future. And I should mention, by the way, Mary said, make sure you mention this, is if you don't know already, if you're new to what we do, we run Financial Joy Academy. Think of it as a platform and community with courses, masterclasses, coaching, accountability, community, all the things you need, but at the cost of your takeaway bill. If you want to, learn from us directly, I will link to below and above a link to Financial Joy Academy. Check it out, join. We're actually working on our app at the moment. We have more than 60 courses and masterclasses, lots of coaching calls, in-person meetups, lots of good vibes, lots of great, really great community. Check it out in your own time if you are interested. The 11th thing I would purchase with my money, if I was in my 20s to 30s, is a reliable car. Now, I mentioned this because, when you're in your 20s and 30s, it's easy to be misled by what you see on social media. You feel like, I need to level up. I need to have a really nice car. And by the way, no, I'm not poking at anybody who has a nice car. For some people, that's the thing that brings them joy, and that's their thing. That's fine. But what I really want to say is, don't buy a nice car at the expense of investing for the future or doing things that will really bring you a much higher return on investment. Yeah? This is absolutely critical. I personally try to avoid buying a car on finance, for example. In fact, we made a video on why cars keep you poor. And you tend to find there's a lot of people in ethnic minority communities, actually, and beyond, who actually make buying a really nice car a thing, the whole flexing thing. Yeah. I've been okay with a normal car, a basic car, less than 10 grand. It works. It's reliable. It's coming on 8 years old now. And it takes us a family of 4, and I've never had to worry about it. I've never felt like, wow, this car's rinsing me out. Never. In fact, because we paid cash for it, I don't have a direct debit that's coming out for a car, which means my money gets invested for even more freedom and more wealth. This should be, if you want it, this should be your reality as well, if this is what you want. The 12th and final thing, and I've got 2 bonus points to share, is your health. Now, I've talked about this briefly when I talked about earlier the importance of good food. But when I talk about health here, I want to speak specifically to your physical health as one point. So look, and I'm learning. I'm not a perfection or anything like that. I'm learning this myself. Every time I prioritize my physical health, I feel good. I feel like, wow, I'm really looking after myself, and I feel a lot more positive. When I work out, I feel good. I feel really in fact, I always see the workout thing and fitness almost as the first domino in a series of dominoes. If I get my fitness right, everything else aligns and follows. When it comes to our business, our work and our mission, other things I do, family life, everything just aligns really, really well. So physical health is very important. For us, we invested. We have a home gym next door. Used to be our shed. It's a small little gym, but it works for us. For you, how are you prioritizing your physical health? Are you part of a gym, part of a gym membership? Do you work out outside? Do you go for walks for free? Whatever you're doing, So if you're doing something that's prioritizing your physical health, then that's a big tick. Next is your spiritual life. When it comes to health, your spiritual health. This is another big one for me, and one that is a continual work in progress. The thing I found with spiritual health is that it really comes back to time. How much time are you making away from your distractions? There's so many distractions. Everywhere you look, there's a distraction. But it's, the opportunity cost of the distraction is that it robs us of our spiritual life. And for you, that could mean a multitude of things. But for me, it's about my relationship with God. As a believer, that's a very, very important thing for me. I'm making sure that I'm prioritizing properly and not putting, wealth or anything like that ahead of that relationship. For me, it's about putting God first and everything else second. Yeah. So spiritual life and spiritual health is very important for you. Could be, the fact that you do your meditations or prayers, whatever. But the key is to make sure that's a priority. Again, tied to health is your financial well-being or your well-being more generally. So if it means spending money or getting resources that are helping you with therapy, might mean getting some counseling, anything of that nature that means that you are working on your mental health. Wow, big topic, particularly, how many years now? 4 years since the pandemic. There are so many things that have happened since that pandemic that mean that many people are still struggling with a lot of things. There's a lot of fallout, but people aren't really investing in their mental health. They don't really have certain rituals and practices that mean that their mental health is a priority. So that should not be your reality. Make your mental health a big thing. Now I want to end with 2 bonus points. And if you've really hung out with me until the end of this video, I'd love you to, post a heart in the comment section so that I know that, you've got to this part of the video. So jump in there and literally post a heart emoji, just so that I know you're one of the final, the troopers who got to the end to hear the bonus points. Here are my 2 bonus points and I'll wrap up. The first one is I would invest money or spend money or purchase wholesome events and members clubs. Now remember, I said earlier that you don't have to do everything I've said. I just want you to pick out certain things and align your money in the right way. Now, why have I talked about wholesome events? I've talked about this one because I've realized that, I keep hearing a lot of single people, saying how I can't meet the right partner. The dating game has changed. Things are just difficult. I hate these dating apps. Things are just nuts and it's a wild west out there, right? One thing I'll tell you is you need to go back to basics, right? And wholesome events are great for this. And I'm talking be led by your interests. For example, if you like music, I love compositions. I love listening to Hans Zimmer and Einaudi and people like that compose music. For me, I'd go to I'd go to one of their performances. I love going to events that mean that I'm men's events that mean that we're working on mental well-being and all those things. Or I love property events and things that means I'm really working on my financial well-being and stuff like that. So for you, what are your interests? What do you have an interest in? Find those events, go to Eventbrite or wherever, ask people for recommendations and show up. Why have I said that? You are more likely to meet people who you're likely to be aligned with from a mindset perspective, from an interest perspective, by going to places of similar interests. And obviously, these sort of events are also great for networking and building relationships, which is a very important thing on this journey. And the final bonus point I want to make as I come to wrap up this video is to invest in an alternative passport. That's right. Now, this is a very niche point. But I'll tell you right now, that one thing I've noticed that a lot of people in my kind of circles, friends in our Mary and I circles, I shouldn't say a lot, some people in our circles are doing is thinking about life. What could life look like if they were not in the UK? They're making certain moves to position themselves to get a passport from another country. Could be in Europe, could be in Canada, could be in the Caribbean, could be in Africa, whatever. But the key is, if that's something you're thinking about for various reasons, this is probably another video. This is something worth considering. Rather than that, I want to know from you guys in the comments, which of the points I shared today really resonated with you? Jump in the comments and let me know. But beyond that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Share it with others. And as always, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care and bye for now.